Well, the cast of Friends have reunited for the first time in 15 years in front of a live audience, along with a host of cameos by previous supporting cast members like Tom Selleck, Reese Witherspoon, and Thomas Lennon. Or Thomas Leland. Lennon. Lennon? I better look that up.
Please welcome Thomas Lennon.
Thomas Lennon, who played Joey's hand model. But there was one person who was glaringly missing from the lineup. One person that many of us consider to be sort of like the seventh friend. That is, of course, Paul Rudd, who played Crapbag.
First name Crap, last name Bag.
Phoebe's boyfriend and eventual fiancé, also known as Mike Hannigan. Now, why was Paul Rudd missing when even the guy who played Gunther showed up in a Zoom call? Well, the real answer may surprise you. Now, to be fair, there is a host of supporting cast members who had small but consistent parts on the series who didn't show up to the reunion, like Susan and Carol, Jennifer Aniston's ex-husband Brad Pitt, and Courtney Cox's fictional ex-fiancé from season 2, Jon Favreau. Now, it may be that those last two are a little bit too A-list to be showing up to a reunion special for a 90s sitcom. Now, that brings us back to Paul Rudd, who's arguably still in the prime of his career as he's filming Ant-Man and the Wasp 3. So would it have taken too much of the spotlight away from the main cast to have Paul Rudd show up next to a lineup of geriatric sitcom relics? Well, no. While I don't think anybody would argue that these people are at the pinnacle of their respective careers anymore, they are still enormously famous in their own right. And the show's a reunion special about the core cast. It certainly wouldn't take any spotlight away from them to have Paul Rudd on. And while I certainly wouldn't put Paul Rudd smack in the middle of the couch as if he was like one of the friends, because he wasn't, the obvious and best place for him would have been as the host, replacing this guy who did a fine job, but he was a total outsider to the production of the original show. Paul Rudd, on the other hand, would have served as a familiar bridge between the audience and the cast, asking the questions we would want to know while being appropriately set apart from the core cast, but with the added dynamic of having played an important part in the end of the series. However, according to the show creators, not everyone could show up to the taping due to innumerable scheduling difficulties compounded by the pandemic. Well, we couldn't have everybody on because it's only an hour and 45 minutes, and you've got to pay attention. The main nub of the show has got to be about the 6 cast members, so you can't have too many cameos because, of course, there were hundreds of amazing people who were in Friends over the years. Sadly, we couldn't get everybody in. Okay, well, sure, but frankly, these reasons, these excuses ring a bit hollow when you watch the actual reunion special, because they devoted a sizable chunk of that show to random interviews with people from Germany, Ghana, and India, and like how the show affected their life. Like, I would rather see Paul Rudd, so I don't believe time constraints are an issue. And neither does scheduling really shake out as a plausible reason when, again, Gunther showed up via Zoom call. You realize that Paul Rudd could have done the same thing from literally anywhere in the world. And in that case, well, maybe he was just a little bit too expensive. It's not like this is a charity get-together. Everyone's getting paid to be here, and it's fair to ask for your share of that if you're a big star. And how much does a Zoom call from Paul Rudd cost? Well, maybe more than they are willing to pay. But here's one final reason Paul Rudd might not have wanted to show up. One reason that nobody's even suggested. One reason that I believe to be the real reason for his absence. Remember when I said that Joey's hand model, played by Thomas Lennon, made a guest appearance? Well, if you happen to have seen the movie I Love You, Man, then you'll remember a scene where Thomas Lennon and Paul Rudd briefly make out in a passionate display of manly lust. And could old feelings of infatuation and heartache account for Paul Rudd's desire to avoid an awkward interaction with a former lover? Yes, that's the reason.